Good evening, good evening. Another installment of Cat Tech. Tonight I'm going to be teaching on ERVAT, DEVAR. ERVAT, DEVAR. That is a Hebrew word, two words for the term something indecent. Any and everything. It will make sense once I teach it. It's a marriage teaching. It has to do with marriage. ERVAT, DEVAR. Something indecent. Any and everything. God created beauty and perfection in Adam and Eve. He created Adam. He made, or a better word would be, he formed Eve. Created, made Adam, formed Eve. Man, straight, just get him done. Create him, make him. Eve, he formed Eve. He took more time with the woman. That's just a fact. Perfection before the fall of man, imperfection after the fall of man. In the garden, it was perfect. We got to remember that, okay? Because I'm going somewhere, you're going to understand when I get to it. Very, very important principles to remember. Love and hate was born after the fall. Marriage, divorce, sexuality and adultery, romance, heartache. You got love and hate present. You got marriage and divorce present. You got sexuality and adultery. You got romance and you got heartache after the fall. We were created by the Creator, God or our Father, to be male and female. We were built by God to love and be loved, to absorb the love of God into our bloodstream and then share it with another human being. No human on the planet now lives in the Garden of Eden. Those days are over. I have a statement that if you want to have a little bit of heaven on earth, follow these 5 things. Run, pray, play, lay. Run after God, run after your spouse, pray together, play together, lay together. You get a little taste of the Garden of Eden if you do those things. You get a little glimpse of heaven if you do those things. I'm not ever saying it's going to be exactly like the Garden of Eden, and I'm not saying you're going to get to know what heaven is like while you live on this sinful earth. But if you're in a marriage and y'all both are committed and y'all both are doing what God put y'all here to do, and y'all consistently run after God first, run after each other next, pray together consistently, play together. That's hobbies, whatever your hobby is. Gardening, playing pool, playing darts, throwing frisbee, going on picnics, shooting pool, whatever you enjoy, that y'all enjoy together and y'all play together. Some type of play, playing board games, playing card games. And then, of course, lay together. That speaks of intimacy, where y'all don't deny each other. Because we always get on the women for this, but some men deny the women. So the truth is, y'all have to be consistent in coming together to lay together to be intimate. Those 5 create a little bit of the Garden of Eden, a little bit of paradise, a little bit of heaven on earth. The issue we have right now in the Bible, in relationships, is in marriage especially, is we don't have unap anymore. It was interesting. I was going over all the teachings I have on my channel, and I got all the way back to the very first one I did. I did it on this acronym of sorts, UNOP, UNOP. U stands for unashamed, N stands for naked, O stands for open and honest. That means full transparency. And P stands for pure motives. No ulterior motives, no hidden agendas. So we don't have that anymore. Most people got shame and guilt. Most people are not naked, not just natural and spiritual, soul nakedness. Most people are not open and honest. They got secrets. They're not transparent with their spouse. And most don't have pure motives. They have manipulation tactics to get a desired result from their spouse. None of that was in the garden before the fall. So you got to get back to what happened to how it was in the garden before the fall. They had unap, unashamed, naked, open and honest, pure motives. All of those things were present before the fall. So there's a reason that over 50% of marriages end in divorce. A lot of it has to do with what I'm about to share with you. ERVAT, DEVAR. ERVAT, DEVAR. I'm going to read from this real quick. 50%. Did you catch that? 50% of marriages end in divorce. Because we hear that stat all the time, we grow numb to how gut-wrenching and nauseating it is. The chances of your marriage lasting more than a few short years are 50-50. Just toss a coin in the air, call heads or tails, slap it on your wrist. Those are your odds. What happened? How did we get from the Garden of Eden to this? And can we get back on track? ERVAT, DEVAR. The writer Matthew tells a story about Jesus fielding questions on divorce. Divorce was rampant in Jesus' day, just as it is in ours. Marriage was unraveling at the seams, and one day the Pharisees showed up at Jesus' door asking for his take on it. Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any and every reason? Remember, I made that statement in the beginning. Something indecent, any and every reason. That's in the Bible. Any and every reason. In today's language, is God ever okay with divorce? And if so, when is he okay with it? A quick bit of history to make sense of the Pharisees' question. In the first century, there was a raging debate over an obscure text in the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, for those who don't know. In Deuteronomy, Moses said if a man marries a woman who becomes displeasing to him because he finds something indecent about her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce. The phrase something indecent is ERVAT, DEVAR in Hebrew. I'm sorry, I misspoke earlier and said Greek. It's actually Hebrew. And it's just as ambiguous in the original language as it sounds in English. What did Moses mean by something indecent? There were 2 sides on this debate. On one side was the school of Shammai, which followed the teachings of the right-wing conservative rabbi named Shammai. He said that there was one and only one reason a man could divorce his wife, and that was simply adultery. I'm going to give my take on that in a second. That act broke the bond of marriage with the hammer of infidelity. That was his interpretation of something indecent, ERVAT, DEVAR. Sadly, Shammai's interpretation was the minority view. On the other side of the school was the school of Hillel, the leftist progressive of the day. Rabbi Hillel said a man could divorce his wife for any and every reason. If she gains 5 pounds, divorce her. That sounds like something indecent. Divorce her. If you aren't happy anymore, divorce her. I remember a man of God saying they left it open to anything. She burnt the toast. Divorce her. She can't boil water correctly. Divorce her. I'm being silly to bring the point on. All right. She don't know how to make rice. Divorce her. Right. Her toenails look funny. Divorce her. Any and everything. They say things like if she burns the toast, see, there it is, ERVAT, DEVAR, divorce her. For obvious reasons, Hillel's take was by far the popular majority view of the time. And to clarify, Hillel's interpretation was called the any and every reason clause and was written on marriage certificates around the time of Jesus. Now let's go back to the Pharisees' question. Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any and every reason? The Pharisees are essentially asking Jesus, where do you stand on divorce? With Hillel or with Shammai? What's your take? Jesus' answer speaks volumes. He didn't even address if he stood with either one of them. He went straight to the origin, straight from his father's heart on, my father's the one who created marriage. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. I'm not even answering which one of these sides I side with. Haven't you read, he replied, that at the beginning, the Creator made them male and female and said, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So there are no longer 2 but 1. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. In other words, you're asking the wrong question, Pharisees. Pharisees were always asking to try to set you up questions. Y'all know any people like that in your life? They know you're a Christian. They know you follow Christ, but they try to ask you them weird, out of place questions, that put you in a bind because they're trying to set you up. The question you should be asking is, what is God's dream for marriage? And to answer that question, Jesus takes the Pharisees back to the beginning. He quotes from one of the first stories in the scriptures, and it turns out to be a love story. A bone of my bones. In the Genesis narrative, God looks down on the world and sees that Adam is a lonely human on a solitary planet. It is not good for the man to be alone, he says. So God does something about it. He causes a deep sleep to fall over Adam. Then he takes a rib from the man's side, and from that rib, from Adam's bones, he creates Eve. Adam wakes up to a dream, and he sings over the woman. This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, womb man with a womb, for she was taken out of man. Now, I want to address the ERVAT, DEVAR, something indecent, Hillel school of thought for any and every reason. And the Shammai guy wanted divorce to only be on adultery. So that meant if you abandoned your family, you didn't give your wife the love, care, attention, and affection that she deserved, you didn't love her like the church, like Christ loved the church, she was just supposed to accept that. That's what he's saying. As long as it's not adultery, you got to deal with any and everything that they do. I don't agree with that, because when you study scripture top to bottom, from the beginning to the end, you find out that I call it the triple A effect that leads to divorce. Because God is a good father with a loving heart, and he loves both. If you're both Christians and married, y'all both are his children. One is a son, one's a daughter. He loves both of y'all equally. So you think a father, any good father, let's just take in the natural, is going to be fine with a man beating on his daughter? No. Some fathers might kill the son. It's happened before, because they're feeling like, I got to go and protect my daughter. You were supposed to protect her when you took her as your wife, but you're doing things that are outside of the realm of the covenant of marriage. You're abusing her. The other A is abandonment. You abandon someone, what are they to do if you just up and abdicate your responsibilities and abandon the whole thing? So when you study the Bible, God is not a cruel taskmaster. He is not going to expect someone to stay in a marriage where there's the 3 A's going on: abandonment, abuse, adultery. All 3 of them. And here's the catch for y'all that say, well, it only says adultery. But guess what? Abandonment and abuse leads to adultery. So if these 2 are the first steps that take you to the one that says you can get a divorce, then they have some part in you getting a divorce. So you can't throw out abandonment and abuse, because in most cases, abandonment and abuse lead people to adultery. So they're all would fall under the heading of these A's give you legal right to get out of a marriage where those things are happening. God does not want any of his children to be subject to that. A person just abandoning them, constantly abusing them, whether it be physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, right? Sexual abuse, they got all of them. He doesn't want that for his children. And of course, we know adultery, because you're breaking the covenant of marriage by allowing another person into this precious covenant of marriage that God created. So yes, ERVAT, DEVAR, something indecent, any and everything. Y'all be blessed.